Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Well, I'm on a path, all right. Are you on a path?
I think so.
Well, you know what's so funny? We're behind the counter, but like we talk about like nothing, and then Brian,
and the music starts.
Audio High engineer goes, "Okay, you guys ready?" And we're like, "Yeah, okay, fine." It's like
I have no idea what we're doing, but we are
clue.
Here. We are on the path.
Yeah, and I'd like to introduce us today as Happy Mike and Grumpy Glenn. What do you think?
Glenn is grumpy today.
Why is grumpy?
Cranky.
What? Oh, cranky. Is that? Wait a minute.
That's the
is
word
it
I
worse
use.
than grumpy?
Oh yeah,
Really?
absolutely.
Because I don't
I've been
remember.
cranky.
I remember sneezy and happy, but I don't remember grumpy and cranky.
Such a cranky day. I had a lot of work calls today, and every one of my work calls, I'm say, hey, I'm going to tell you right off, I'm cranky today.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Are you your job?
No.
Okay. Then what are you being cranky for?
Oh, it has nothing to do with my job. I'm cranky today, which is rare for me. But I'm cranky today because I am on day 3 of my eating program. And day 3 is the hangry, cranky day.
Okay. You know, I sent you a text on the way to the studio today. Did you see that?
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah. So it's very appropriate. I mean, let me just pull it up real fast. It said, I saw it on social media, and it said, if you are newly sober or struggling, hold on. You have no idea how good it's about to get. But isn't that the same thing with your 3-day diet? I mean, hold on. You're struggling.
Tomorrow, typically the 4th day. So I've lost 45 pounds in 3 months this year.
That'd be about half my body weight. Go ahead.
I'll tell you. And then I had my shoulder surgery, so I let up a little bit. I let up a lot, and I gained 10 or 12 back. And now I am determined to finish this year at down 50 pounds for the year. That'll be a major win. But
it's a big number.
But and just behind the scenes, we're in like October, 20-something here. So I've got 8 weeks, 9 weeks left to do it, which I can because I lose about 4 pounds a week.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you use any?
Is this a personal question?
Yeah. No. Do you use any principles of the program? And does one translate to the other? I mean, as you're going through life and you're trying to accomplish something that you hadn't accomplished before, do you find you rely on the principles or anything of the program?
So that's a great question, and the answer is an emphatic yes, because I find that I used to drink to change the way I feel, and now I can easily get in the pattern of eating to change the way I feel. Get out of a real stressful call from work.
Have a donut.
Well, we got that bar outside of my, not a bar, but a refreshment center.
Disclosure, it is not a liquor bar.
We have a refreshment center right outside, my
it's got
my
snacks
office.
and chocolates.
It's got anything you want
for the kids, right.
Yeah.
And Mike, when he comes over.
Yeah, totally. Anything you want. So, I mean, that's easy, right?
Yeah.
But staying away, and so I use tools. Some of the tools I use is suffer better. Some of the tools I use is distract myself, reach out to somebody, just
change your place, change your people, change your, physically
Absolutely.
where
So
you're
I
at,
had
just go walk out.
960 calories today.
Wow. Is that a lot? I don't count.
No, that's like bird feed.
I said, okay, well, I probably had 860 then. You know what I had today? I had a donut and a half a taco.
Man, how do you do that?
Well, because I'll go home and eat a half a sleeve of Oreos tonight.
Well, there you go.
It's a
so half a sleeve of Oreos is like 2,000 calories. So trust me, you're definitely getting the calories in somehow.
All right. Hey, should we get down to the business to help
What are we
people
doing?
stay sober?
What are we here for?
All right. So here's the thing. We live online. And one of the things that I love doing is taking a look at what is online, what's trending, right? So what are people asking, right? And it's amazing. So we looked at like the top 12, top 15, Glenn and I did, and we came out with, 4 or 5 topics that we could just blow through them in one episode. but we thought, why don't we take a look at these and really bust them down?
So I think that's a great idea. So hashtag trending.
Yeah, right. I think that's taken, but okay.
Yeah, but it's really cool because we can see, through Google, what people are searching on. And I mean, not only do we hear from listeners and love hearing from listeners and kind of what's on their mind and stuff. And, podcast at Sober.Coffee is our email, podcast at Sober.Coffee. So feel free to reach out. But no, people are out there looking for help.
Yeah, right.
A lot of them, millions of people.
Right. So let's jump in.
But I love this new series.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I really like, because remember we did that 6 espresso shot.
Yeah, right.
First of all, I think we need one of those.
Yeah, we do, because we get we get so much feedback from the listeners, and we need to jump on those. That's a great point.
I think we should have another espresso shot. But it's really cool that we're going to give these topics the right focus.
Right. So one of the top ones was, what's the difference between a craving and an addiction? Now, I got to say, if I'm Googling that, okay, I'm either Googling it for somebody I know, but I'm going to make an assumption that you may be Googling that for yourself. Are you tracking with me on that?
So I think that's a great way to look at it. So if I'm hearing you right, maybe somebody's out there that's sober curious, right?
Right.
And they're like, man, what's an addiction? Maybe I'm, hey, I want to go get a drink tonight, right? Am I an alcoholic? Am I addicted, right?
Right.
Or is it just a craving? I can assure you, when I have those craving for the sleeve of Oreos, which I'm a professional at doing a whole line. Don't do half, do all of it.
Right. 10.
The double stuff.
Right.
So, is that craving or am I addicted to it?
Right.
So, clearly going back and thinking about it, it's probably somebody is Googling that for themselves. And it's, if I were to guess, it's somebody either in very early sobriety or somebody that's sober curious.
Yeah, I agree
That'd be
with
my
you.
guess.
I agree with you as well. And I think it's worth taking a look. And it really, what I love about this, I did some mental preparation for today. And, what it comes down to for me is I have to go back and ask myself the questions I was asking myself before I got sober. Right? Before this new life of mine. And, I don't know if it was denial that was in the forefront of my mind, right? Or my forefront of my actions. Oh no, I'm not addicted. I just like to drink. It tastes good, But again, I look at it kind of like chocolate, right? I mean, I like chocolate and I crave for chocolate at times, and I have a couple of pieces of chocolate and I walk away. And I don't wake up in the middle of the night and take some chocolate. I don't get up in the morning and chug some chocolate. I don't bring it to work with me. All these
Well, I
kind
think
of
part
things.
of that is chocolate doesn't do a whole heck of a lot for you.
Well,
I think it does a little bit. Yeah, it gives you a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's not like booze.
Right.
I mean, booze was my solution. I mean, to the inner core, inner brain, crack brain, whatever you want to call it.
It was your go-to.
Oh,
right. Sure.
Booze worked.
Right.
Now I like chocolate, but chocolate does not work like booze works. But the first thing I think of when we think about cravings and addiction is both those words are subjective. There's no blood test, right, to measure cravings. There's no meter. They're very subjective. And then I think part of it is psychological versus physical. I was spending some time trying to get ready, for this and get my head around it. And I had a lot of cravings that eventually pointed to I have a real problem.
When was your point of admission for you?
My point of admission, meaning what?
When did you admit to yourself this is beyond a craving?
You mean when I realized I had a problem?
That's right.
It was at my daughter's dance recital in 1997.
How old was she?
Well, let me see. She was
Like young teen?
Like 6.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So she was in a dance recital, and for those that don't know what a dance recital is, like they're little kids that dress up in tutus and they dance on stage. Well, they have like 110 acts, right? And there's they're all like 4 minutes long, so that's a long day.
And she's not in each one.
No, she's in number 5 and she's in number 102.
What do you do between 5 and
Well,
102?
I tailgated.
Oh, wait a minute. That's the thing?
I actually went out. It was at a school. I actually went out to the parking lot. And, of course, I had very strong persuasive skills. So I had buddies of mine whose kids were there, too, and they had the same issue I had, long pauses. So I'm like, hey, let's go out. I packed the cooler. Let's go out to the car. Nobody does that if you don't have cravings. Nobody does that if you have a problem.
But you had a light bulb walking out to the car? You had a light bulb coming in? Or in retrospect, do you know that was...
Retrospect.
Okay.
Back then, what I was doing is I was feeding a need, and what I was doing in the moment was 100% made sense to me. I'm like, Glenn, you're the man. I probably patted myself on the back. I'm so proud of it.
Yeah.
Nobody else thought of that.
Right.
I'm a strategist.
You're a genius. I mean, this is before tailgating was a thing.
Totally.
Now they do it at every major
who in the
football
world
game.
tailgates at their daughter's dance recital?
Right. Well, you do. Now I know somebody.
So that's my where I said, hey, I realized looking back that every part of my life was built around booze.
Okay. Let's fast forward a little bit. You came to that realization in retrospect. But was there a point in your life? Because for me, it was way late in my life. I would do that, and I knew inherently it was probably not normal, but then I was hanging around with people who were doing it, so I felt that it was normal because they're doing it, I'm doing it. I guess when was the point for you that you said, this is no longer, this is an addiction? When was your real wake-up moment where you said, this is a problem? And I'm addicted.
Yeah,
I mean, because that's a strong statement to make about yourself.
Yeah, so probably when I started to get the shakes in the morning, and I started really, being hungover, just tired and kind of dragging. That's one thing. But I started getting the shakes, and this was a couple years after my dance recital was probably 2000, and I remember probably the number one time is. I was traveling for business out in L.A., and I was, lit, and I drank hard till like 3 a.m, and I had a 6 a.m. flight. So I went back to the hotel. I packed my suitcase, got a shower. I was shaking. I was such bad physical shape. And I remember sitting on the plane, and the guy next to me, flying first class, and the guy next to me says, "Man, you had a bad night." And I said, "You said it." And I said, "It's going to be a long day." And he said, he goes, "Hey," he goes, "why don't you just have a Bloody Mary?" And I'm like, "What?" I said, "That's like leaning into a punch, right?" I almost made me sick just thinking about it. I said, "There's no way I can drink." He said, "Trust me, drink a Bloody Mary and you'll feel like $1 million." And so I said, okay. So I ordered a double Bloody Mary. I drank it. And I felt like better.
All right.
Like I thought I was going to vomit, but I didn't. And I felt better. And then I was like, well, if one's good, two's good, right? So I had another one. So by the time I flew from, L.A. to Chicago, I had 8 of them or whatever.
4 hours.
Yeah. So I'm getting off the plane and I'm buzzed.
All right.
And then, so I went home in the limo and then just kind of cruised through the rest of the afternoon. And then I realized at that point, I'm addicted. Right. I'm like, because... And then the days started to blend in. And every single night, I would get bombed and I would just push it. I would just say, hey, how far can I take this? Because now I've got a solution in the morning. So it was at that point that I knew I was addicted. I knew that I was hooked.
Yeah.
And in trouble.
And I'm rattling my brain because there were so many moments where I should have come to that realization, but I didn't. Tragedy would strike. I would do something.
Why, did you talk yourself out of it, or?
Yeah, I just said, just get back on the horse like you. And I didn't have Bloody Mary, but I was just like, all right, this is just a thing. I just didn't see it as a problem.
So the next day, to drink at the level that you did, the next day you had to have been hurt.
Early on, yes.
And then did you take
later.
pills? Did you take booze the next day?
Took pills and booze.
Well, see, that's what I didn't do. I didn't take the pills. If I had taken the pills, I could have smoothed that with that.
Yeah, smooth that, right. Well, let me tell you something.
Well, just
those are addictive as well. I just for all the listeners to know.
Yeah, yes, they are. Well, they talked about that. Tranquilizers, I think the word that the big book uses, right?
But so this is good because, again, I think if people are wondering what the difference between craving and addiction, an addiction is something that, from what I hear you say, you lost control of the crave. The addiction overtook the crave. You just lost control, like I did. I just lost control. I just kept doing it.
I would say when I had booze available at all times, there was no craving. Just because I had. I mean,
right. It was.
I was just on that path.
Sure.
It's just every 2 hours, every hour and a half, I'd have another drink.
Right.
I didn't really crave it. I just set up my life that was going to be a drinking life.
Right.
But then, when I did stop, the numerous times I stopped before I really surrendered and started on the sober path. Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of cravings.
Right.
And as we talked about, the first year I took Antabuse, and I mean that didn't stop the cravings. I just couldn't do anything about them.
That's right.
Because it helped me identify why I did.
Right.
But the one thing I want to point out, for those that are sober curious or early in sobriety, stopping drinking. In fact, I just saw an article where a father-son were heavy drinkers, and they both quit cold turkey together on the same day, and the son passed away, had a seizure and passed away. And it's very dangerous if you're a heavy drinker, and that's subjective too, right? But if you're a heavy pounder drinker, it is dangerous to stop on your own. Get in touch with a detox center, get in touch with a doctor or a hospital.
Yeah.
I just read that article, and so it's super dangerous.
Yeah. No, that's great. The other thing I was thinking too, Glenn, is, there's my crazy, my crazy is this. I have wants, desires, and then demands, right? So the want is kind of fleeting, right? There's not much substance. There's, something looks good to me at the time. I absolutely don't think it through, but I just need instant gratification, right? Then it goes desire, and that's a little bit deeper, right? I think I'm getting this right. And the brain goes from the want into the I gotta have it, right? I go into overdrive mode, and then it goes into demand, right? And that's game over for me. I mean,
that's almost like the different stages of a relapse.
Yeah.
Where you just emotionally want things, or just start, and then the middle one is the mental. Right. Where you're mentally desire and you start thinking about it, and
you fantasize about it, and
the wave starts to build.
Right. You got to nip it in the bud early.
Absolutely right. But hey, that takes some folks some time. It took me some time.
Right.
It took me time to have that awareness, right, and kind of understand what I'm going through. And that Antabuse helped me, just because I couldn't drink, and then I'd be like, okay, what's going on, and then what tools am I going to use? But the one thing about cravings is they use the word triggers, right? Do you believe in triggers?
No.
Yeah, there's some people that do and some people that don't, right? But there's situations, and I'm on both sides of the fence, I guess, which is rare for me, but I'm riding right in the middle, because there are some situations for me, and as I work with others, for others, that put them into a high-risk zone.
Okay, I'll buy that.
Maybe that's a better word to use, high risk versus trigger. But it puts them in a high-risk zone, like, for example, a family outing, or a situation where they normally would have drank heavily, and that's their pattern, and that's what they know, and booze has always been their go-to, and now they're going to that situation, right, without booze, right? So they go into a high-risk situation without their number one go-to tool, right? So I think when that happens, I mean, just like we talk about it today, we have a game plan, right? We're self-aware. Very rarely do you or I go into a situation
unprepared.
I mean, we just know where we're going, what we're doing, and that's just practice, right? That's just over time.
And sometimes you got to go to the extreme. I went to Nashville a couple of weeks ago, and I took a person in recovery with me. I mean, Nashville's like crazy, Glenn. It's like a combination of Mardi Gras and the Strip in Las Vegas on steroids. It's like it was just crazy. And trust me, I know crazy. I was crazy.
So they had booze around you?
Oh, you couldn't avoid it. There was no water bottles. It was just a big booze fest.
So, did you know that going in?
Yes.
Okay. So you're aware of it going in. So what did you do?
Yeah, we had a purpose for being there. And what I did was I brought somebody in recovery with me, and we just muddled through and enjoyed the ride.
Okay. So you had some accountability. You had some
Absolute
guardrails.
accountability.
Now, how much sobriety did they have? Were they at risk? Did you guys talk about it ahead of time?
Yeah, they are just over a year, and it was we talked a lot about it. I said, "How you holding up?" You know. And,
do you have an exit plan?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, positively. Let's go means let's go.
And you didn't get close to that, did you?
Never. No. It was beautiful, but
did you feel like a fish out of water?
Nope. I enjoyed the show, but I got to tell you, I had a feeling of compassion for those because I saw me in so many places.
Oh man, that is so real, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw me in so many places.
So you saw Mikey in the stands around town.
That's right, and I knew
Mikey,
and I knew what their tomorrow was going to be. Because it doesn't end. So I guess to kind of wrap it up, what we're talking about, and I loved how you said it because when you talked about that party, going to the party, if you're going to the party because you need your go-to, you're beyond craving. You're into addiction, I believe. Right.
So, kind of, the way I wrote a couple notes down, I actually prepared a little bit.
Wow, scare me.
Yeah, but
you're not bad for cranky.
I'll tell you, I am cranky.
Oh, yeah, right.
I mean, I'll be cranky for 6 weeks in a row as we drop these things, right? But, cravings, I wrote down, kind of my definition is a strong desire to drink or use, right? With having failed efforts to stop, right? And I really think that, that cravings is a mental gymnastic, right? It's the mental jungle gym, and it's a brain marker, man, because your brain goes back to what it used before, right? So it drives cravings. But I have found that cravings only last a short period of time, especially if you start using tools to get out of the situations, change your location, put music on, right? Call somebody, right? Eat Oreos instead of drinking, right? That they only last about 20 minutes. And so when I remember early sobriety, I would tell myself that, and that's where I really started to deploy suffering better. I'm going to sit here. I don't care how it feels. I'm going to, I got 18 minutes left, but
make it through this 18.
Totally. But I also believe that cravings are a part of or a sign of addiction. I don't think you'd have addiction without cravings.
Right. It starts with the crave.
Yeah. I just think that is the fertile soil of where addiction can really grip in and grow.
So pay attention to it.
Absolutely pay attention.
I did this. I looked up addiction on Google, and Google never lies. Anyway, I got to dictionary.com, and addicted means physically and mentally dependent on a particular substance and unable to stop taking it without incurring adverse effects. That's where you've crossed the line, where you got to have it.
Yeah. So for those folks that are Googling this, right, sober curious, or early in sobriety, or have tried and tried and tried, just like I did, just like we did, right? There is help. There is a solution. We are part of the program, the 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and there's a chapter in that big blue book called "There Is a Solution." And what I found is when I surrendered and said, "Hey, I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do in this big blue book," my cravings started to go away.
Right.
And I started to learn some tools where I could get through the day without craving. And today, I don't crave at all. I might have a fleeting thought.
Well, it's habit.
Yeah.
You know,
I
sure.
might
You
have
hop on a
fleeting
plane,
thought,
you're
but-
thinking of a Bloody Mary.
Absolutely. You know
Right.
what? I just took a plane, and the people next to me
Did you
were
give it
drinking.
back?
No, and the people next to me were all drinking. I'm like, that's how I used to be.
That's how it used to be.
And I had my tomato juice on ice and my Diet Coke,
There you go.
and that was fine.
All right. Well, I'm gonna leave with this because I think that's great advice for the sober curious. I think for the listeners that are on the road to recovery, I think what we talked about today made an impact on me, and that is be aware when you're going into a situation. Yes, you may have a craving, but deal with it, process it, and have a plan.
You know, and also, I mean, we're clearly doing our hashtag trending,
Yeah, right.
which I love, maybe sober curious, but for those that are on the sober path and may not have cravings today, just take some of what we chatted through today, sharpen your pencil, and help out the next alcoholic who's having those cravings.
I love that.
All
right, man. Hey,
Love
this
you,
is
brother.
good. We'll see you again for part two.
I'm still craving that line
The
of
Oreos.
Oreos.
Yeah,
so
all right.
so
Take us to music, Brian.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
See you, brother.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@Sober.Coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.